we have been invaded by millions upon millions of people, and he was elected to get them out. He was elected to get them out. And what some people are proposing is a backlog system that will never allow us to go to get them out.
You're describing illegal immigration, which has been around for a long time as an invasion, which is fine for you if you want to do that. But why is that unusual that there's a process to go through to deport people? I mean, that's actually just how the system works.
Do you know how long it takes for this process, this paperwork to get people out? The guy that we've all been weeping and gnashing teeth over, the guy we sent to El Salvador, was in the country 14 years illegally.
But what about what
We've got millions of people who have gamed this system, and now we're going to give it some.
For an illegal immigrant to have due process, we would all agree that they do not have the same level of due process that we do. For example, we are entitled to a jury trial, and they are entitled to a hearing before an immigration judge. Do you know who the immigration judges work for? They work for the executive branch. They work for
what?
Which means that they work for Donald Trump.
You're actually making a great
of the due process that they get.
But Donald Trump. The question is,
let me give you
why?
an example. I'll give you an example. In the example of Kilmar Obrego Garcia, I believe he already got his due process.
Yes.
He had a deportation order. So for Trump to be asked, does that man deserve more due process? I think the answer is absolutely not. I don't want another dime of my taxpayer dollars to go to. He was not supposed to be sent to El Salvador. He had a deportation.
Let's put Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the side.
No, but I'm just using him as an example
I know that you are.
Of someone who
I
Trump
also
could
think
very legitimately say does not need any more due process.
Well, it's not.
We watched in Wisconsin as this judge helped someone to help them get out of the courthouse because she heard that ICE was in the courthouse, even though she was about to conduct a trial of this individual who was accused of assault, and the people who accused him of it were sitting in the front row. So the Wisconsin governor, Tony Evers, is not happy about this, and he named you in this. Watch this.
Tom Homan was asked about me in this guidance after he apparently threatened to arrest elected officials across the country. He said, wait till you see what's coming. As disgusted as I am about the continued actions of the Trump administration, I'm not afraid. I've never once been discouraged from doing the right thing, and I will not start today.
What's your response to that, Tom?
Well, there's no threat. What I simply said is wait what happens. I've said from day one, you can support sanctuary cities. You cannot support ICE if that's what you choose to do. But if you cross that line on impeding our law enforcement efforts or knowingly harboring and concealing an illegal alien from ICE, those are felonies, and we will seek prosecution. So, hopefully you don't cross that line, but it's not a threat. I've been saying since day one. There are laws on the books against impediment and knowing, harboring, and concealing an alien, and we're going to seek those out that do that. I've arrested U.S. citizens for harboring, concealing aliens in their workplace or their home when I was an agent. Why should be a free-for-all for elected officials? So don't cross that line. I said from day one. We showed the judge. The judge wanted to play that game. We're prosecuting her. So anybody can be prosecuted for violating laws, including him. But it's not a threat. I'm just taking what the law is and what our 10 is going to be.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy how we're still talking about this Obrego Garcia stuff? And I don't know, I find it a big issue that 96% of media coverage on him is positive, right? Even though there's evidence of them being arrested, him being called a gang member, all this stuff that's the media is trying to dispute. And you see how Democrats rally to kind of defend these people. And I already talked about it. There's a political interest. Democrats are not doing this defending illegals out of the kindness of their heart, because recently, I've been talking about the border a lot because Democrats are spewing this narrative that Cinco de Mayo has been canceled because too many Mexicans are scared of coming out. And I'm like, no, it should be illegals are scared to coming out. It's not about no Mexicans. Illegals are scared to come out and party because they know ICE is around. And I think this goes to show some of the problems with the media and the Democratic Party, honestly, is that they can't just be, it may help them with Democratic voters, right? Democratic voters feel like the Democratic Party is not resisting Trump enough. But for like normal people like me who are more independent, I don't think it's a good look for the Democrats to just be blindly opposition party. And I think that when people ask who's leading the Democratic Party, because at the end of the day, like the stuff they're doing, the positions that the Democrats are taking, it is mind-boggling to me. I'm like, yo, come on. You're an American politician. You're supposed to be doing things in the interest of the American people. You just have an alternative view. But when you look at Democrats as an alternative, you don't see any interest that can help the American people. It's almost like the American people has to help everybody. As Batia pointed out, we don't want to waste more taxpayer money on a guy that's already been given due process. He was supposed to be deported 14 years ago. He's been in this country for 14 years illegally. He got served deportation papers in 2019, and he stayed another 6 years before he actually got deported. And what was the rebuttal from the Democratic panelists on the panel? Oh, he wasn't supposed to be deported back to his home country, essentially. Make it make sense. And I'm telling you, and people are starting to catch on. I talked about this numerous times that the leader of the Democratic Party is technically Donald Trump. Because anything Donald Trump do, Democrats emotionally and reactively do the opposite. Let's take a look at this clip.
On the Democratic side, do you think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, is the new leader? Could it be Vance AOC in 2028?
President AOC, the stuff of nightmares, Brett. Thank you. You've ruined my sleep for this evening.
Who is the leader of the Democratic Party?
I don't know. Honestly,
Do you think about it?
I think to the extent the Democrats have a leader, Donald J. Trump is the leader of the Democratic Party.
They're against him.
Because they're just against everything that he does. I mean, who could possibly disagree with rebuilding American manufacturing and ensuring these steelworkers have higher wages and better jobs? But anytime Donald Trump does anything, they have this emotional response. They have to be against it. Who could disagree with deporting millions of illegal aliens, many of whom are violent criminals? But they have. And I think that what they do is whenever Donald J. Trump does something, they react negatively to it. They don't have real leadership. And I think it's why I'm not too concerned about 2028, because if I wake up in a fantasy world where the Democrats actually have constructive ideas about how to govern this country, that'll actually be a good thing. But if in the world that we actually live in, where they're just anti-Trump about everything, the politics of 2028 will take care of themselves.
The greatest line that Democrats ever said was the border is secure, blatantly insulting people's intelligence. All these stories of how illegals, or these stories of instances of illegals harming American citizens, and the media either downplays it or doesn't cover it at all, right? Is this part of their building consensus? And this is the problem that I think many Americans have. And I think this is what led Donald Trump winning the popular vote. Because he said, hey, look, the immigration stuff is an issue. Hey, look how illegal immigration affects the interests of the American people. Hey, Biden's bragging about his economy, but most jobs created went to non-Americans. It went mostly to foreigners. So this economy is not benefiting you, it's benefiting foreigners. And Americans were like, yo, this all makes sense. And Democrats, instead of arguing about, how why they're doing these things, instead, they try to gaslight us and say, oh, my God, Donald Trump's authoritarian. You don't want him in office. But he's saying things that Americans could observe, see, feel, and actually experience. And this is how out of touch the Democratic Party is, and specifically their voters. Because I think many people who vote Democrat, I don't want to say they're not practical, but they value the virtue signaling more than the reality, right? I always brag about this, or I always talk about this. Democrats would rather suffer in Democrat incompetence than prosper with a Republican. That's just how I think of it. That's how I think of it. And now you can say the same thing. Oh, Republicans are tribal too. But at least when Republicans are asking for power, they try to highlight how what they're doing is a benefit to you. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not, they make the case. Democrats just say, oh, no, we're better than this person. You should put us in office. We know how to govern. No, you know how to fake govern. You know how to act like you're governing. But how is it governing to obstruct and get in the way of ICE, who's trying to do something that the American people elected Donald Trump on? But, I digress. I want to talk about on this segment of Stephen A. Smith talking about the Democratic Party and his criticisms for it. I know I've been putting him on a lot lately, but some of the conversations he's having is things that I want more in the public discourse, honestly. But I digress. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Do you realize right now, and I'm saying this facetiously because I know that you do, Jake, doing what you do every single day. Do you realize that if you are an elected official, your real work is with the campaign? Once you get into office, literally you can get away. I'm talking about the nation's capital specifically, not state and local politics, just the nation's capital. You realize that you can literally go on Capitol Hill, and all your job is to do is to disagree with the other side. You don't even have to do anything else.
Jasmine Crockett, AOC, that's all they do, right? And this is why AOC, if you look at the metrics, she's the least like productive. She's a congresswoman who has the least results. If you look at her district, it's a mess, chaos over there, right? And she's not done anything active to arrange that, fix that. I don't think she even passed a bill yet. And she's been in Congress, I don't know how long. Since 2020, 2016, sorry. Since 2016, she's been in office. 2018, I think, sorry. I'm getting the dates mixed up. But she's done nothing, literally nothing. Nothing substantive, nothing productive, right? Then hasn't drafted a bill, but she raises a lot of money, right? She loves talking junk about Republicans. She loves to virtue signal about oligarchy. But the Democratic Party are the party that raised the most money from the so-called oligarchy. 9 out of the 10 richest counties in the United States of America vote and donate to the Democratic Party. So who's really controlled by the oligarchy? Democrats love to point out about how Republicans are in the pocket of the NRA. Ooh. And then I can make the same argument. Well, Democrats are in the pocket of pharmaceutical companies. Ooh. You want to protect status quo where if you look at the results, look at the obesity rates of Americans. Look at the life expectancies of Americans. The medical status quo is not giving us good outcomes compared to nations across the world. But Democrats viciously defend their medical institutions because, they got to defend their money, their pocket. They got to defend their oligarchy. Right? Now they want to play this game of narratives. They want to fly around the world in private jets. Champagne socialist, huh? And this is the kind of thing that pisses me off about politics. This is why I said politics, it shouldn't be about who's the best actor. Politics should be about who gets the job done. And I think that's why I honestly think that Republicans have a great chance here.
Whatever the other side feels, you feel the opposite. That's not work. That's not going across the aisle. That's not maneuvering your way through the terrain, through the political terrain, and really negotiating on behalf of your constituency and the American people. All we're doing is engaging in acrimony and hate. And as a result, the American citizens are suffering. So when I look at it from that standpoint, and I think the kind of impact that I could have as a centrist, as a moderate, as somebody who believes in being sensical and engaging in common sense, unfortunately, I believe that if I did take this very, very seriously and I moved forward and I decided that I wanted to be a politician, do I believe I could win? You're damn right. But it's by default. It's not because I'm the most qualified candidate in the world. It's because of the state of our politics in the nation's capital, the politicians that we're looking at, and the fact that we don't believe for 1 second that they are serving the interests of the American people, nor are they interested in it.
And I think that's the difference between most politicians and Donald Trump. Because you can find clips of Donald Trump in 2012 being interviewed by Oprah saying the exact same thing he's saying now about tariffs, about trade, about how America gets taken advantage of. That builds a level of trust with the American people. People knew Donald Trump for years, for decades. Trump's been a household name in American culture. And all of a sudden the media think in a flip of a switch that they can make us believe that he's somehow a bad person, that somehow he's a dictator, an authoritarian. He's out to get us. He's out to harm us. He's looting the treasury. You know what's looting the treasury looks like? It's Chicago spending $10 million on a shelter for illegals that have nobody in it. You know what's looting the country? Spending $800 billion on the Department of Education that gives us worse outcomes than before it was created. Make that make sense. How you create a government department and after its creation, the quality of education went down, not up, or maintain. Make it make sense. Sending taxpayer money on DEI, which is essentially racism under new management. Make that make sense. But Donald Trump's the one looting okay, make it make sense. A guy was a billionaire before he even became a politician. But you expect me to trust a group of people who didn't make the money that they're making now until after they became a politician, like Nancy Pelosi. What? She's $100 millionaire? Like she's worth $100 million? Serving public office her entire life? But I'm not supposed to expect her to loot the treasury, but I'm supposed to expect a billionaire who already has more money than Nancy Pelosi can even count in her lifetime. But I'm supposed to expect him to loot the country. Yeah, make that make sense. The incentives are off. They talk about Elon Musk. Oh, Elon Musk, you spent $44 billion on a worthless product called Twitter. He could afford to do that. Billionaires are forced to lose money, but I'm supposed to expect them to loot the country. Make it make sense, leftists. But when I look at these Ponzi schemes that the Democratic Party like to run, create fake problems. Oh, we're going to spend $24 billion to end homelessness. And homelessness actually increased. But Republicans are trying to loot the country. But you're not. Your party's not. Oh, we're going to build a high-speed rail. 16 years later, I'm still waiting for the high-speed rail. Can't find it. Can't see it. Where is that? You don't know. But the money, we spent the money already. We lit the money on fire. And this is what I'm talking about. When Americans focus on outcomes, Republicans are closer to getting us outcomes than compared to a Democrat. The Democrat will do a show. Look, we spent this much of money. We invested $20 billion to end homelessness. And then you find out homelessness actually increased. So what was the point of spending the money? To enrich their little lobbyist friends who want to make a dime off of homelessness. But this is where it goes back to my beliefs, my views, that through their actions, Democrats show you who they are. They're about themselves over the country. But, I digress. Maybe people will agree, disagree with me. I'd like to hear it in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Please share this video if you feel so inclined. It really does help me out in the algorithm. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.